The large meeting hall on the Zorathian homeworld fell silent as Commander Lisa Harrington stepped forward. The blue-skinned aliens watched her with their 4 eyes, their expressions unreadable. Lisa had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, the first official diplomatic meeting between Earth and the Zorathian Empire. On behalf of the people of Earth, we extend our hand in friendship, Lisa said, her voice clear and steady despite her nerves. The Zorathian High Council sat on elevated platforms, their ceremonial robes sparkling under the strange purple light. The lead council member, Draz, leaned forward, his upper eyes narrowing. "We have observed your kind for many cycles," Draz said through the translator. "Your message speaks of peace, yet your history speaks of war." Lisa had expected this. Humanity's past was filled with conflict, but they had grown beyond that. "We have learned from our mistakes," she explained. "We now explore space, seeking knowledge and friendship, not conquest." Before Draz could respond, a younger Zorathian burst into the hall. He rushed to Draz, whispering urgently in their clicking language. The council members began chattering among themselves, their calm demeanor suddenly replaced with agitation. Draz stood abruptly. "This meeting is concluded. The human delegation has betrayed our trust." Lisa blinked in confusion. "There must be some mistake. We've done nothing." Silence. Draz's voice boomed through the hall. "Your warships approach our outer colonies even as we speak. This meeting was merely a distraction." Lisa's diplomatic team exchanged shocked glances. Earth had no warships near Zorathian space. Something was terribly wrong. "Please, let me contact my superiors. This is a misunderstanding," Lisa pleaded. But the Zorathian guards were already surrounding the human delegation. Lisa managed to activate her emergency transmitter, sending a quick message to Earth before a guard snatched it away. "As of this moment," Draz announced, "the Zorathian Empire declares war on Earth and all human territories." Half a galaxy away, Admiral Frank Delgado was enjoying his morning coffee when the emergency alert sounded throughout Earth Command Headquarters. He rushed to the control room where officers scrambled at their stations. "What's happening?" he demanded. Captain Samantha Kelly, his second in command, looked up from a screen. "We just received an emergency transmission from Commander Harrington on Zorathia. It cut off mid-message, but it doesn't sound good." She played the message. "Earth Command, this is Harrington. Diplomatic talks have failed. The Zorathians believe we've attacked their colonies, but that's impossible. Something's wrong here. They've declared war and..." The message ended in static. Frank's face hardened. "Get me the president." Within an hour, Frank stood in the virtual meeting room with Earth's leadership. The holographic faces of government officials looked grim as they discussed their options. "The Zorathians have the most powerful fleet in this sector," the defense secretary noted. "If they attack, we don't have the numbers to stop them." "We do have one advantage," Frank said. "The U.S. Defender, Earth's newest and most powerful battleship. The Defender had just completed its final testing phase. With advanced weapons and defensive systems, it was the only ship that might stand a chance against the Zorathians." "The Defender isn't fully crewed," the secretary objected. "We'll need our best people," Frank insisted. "And I know just who to call." Lieutenant John Rivera was training recruits when he received the summons. Despite his troubled past and reputation for questioning orders, Rivera was the best tactical officer in the fleet. His simulator scores against superior forces were legendary. As Rivera entered Frank's office, the admiral didn't waste time on pleasantries. "The Zorathians have captured our diplomatic team and declared war on Earth," Frank said. "I'm sending the Defender to rescue our people and figure out what's happening. I want you as tactical officer." Rivera frowned. "Sir, with respect, my record." "I don't care about your record," Frank interrupted. "I care about getting our people home and preventing an interstellar war. Are you in or out?" Rivera straightened his uniform. "In, sir. When do we leave?" "Immediately," Frank replied. Earth's fate may depend on what we do next. As preparations began, no one on Earth yet understood that the Zorathians' declaration of war wasn't what it seemed. Something darker was unfolding on the alien homeworld, something that would change the relationship between humans and Zorathians forever. The U.S. Defender floated in Earth's orbit, its massive hull gleaming under the distant sun. Inside the ship, activity buzzed as crew members rushed to prepare for the urgent mission. Lieutenant John Rivera walked through the corridors, nodding at passing officers who eyed him with a mix of respect and wariness. His reputation preceded him. Brilliant but difficult. Rivera entered the engineering section, where Chief Engineer Maria Sanchez was barking orders at her team. Machines hummed and screens displayed complex diagrams as technicians prepared the experimental propulsion system. "Lieutenant," Maria acknowledged him with a quick nod. "Come to see if my fold drive will get you to Zorathian space without turning you inside out." "Something like that," Rivera replied with a half-smile. "Will it work?" Maria patted the large cylindrical core that dominated the center of the room. "This beauty will collapse space between here and the Zorathian system. The trip should take days instead of months. But I won't lie, it's never been tested at this distance. First time for everything," Rivera said, studying the equations on a nearby screen. The ship's medical bay was similarly busy. Medical Officer Daniel Wright organized supplies while instructing his staff. When Rivera entered, Wright looked up with concern in his eyes. "John, what have you heard? Are we really at war?" "Not if we can help it," Rivera answered. "The diplomatic team is in trouble, and we need to find out what really happened." Wright shook his head. "We're not ready for interstellar conflict. The casualty projections would be catastrophic. That's why this mission matters," Rivera said firmly. In the communications center, Specialist Olivia Martinez hunched over her console, listening intently through her headset. When Rivera approached, she motioned for him to wait as she fine-tuned her equipment. "Lieutenant, listen to this," she finally said, removing her headset and playing a recording. Strange clicking sounds filled the air, interspersed with musical tones. "Zorathian communications?" Rivera asked. "Yes, but there's something odd. See these patterns?" She pointed to wavelengths on her screen. "They're using two different communication protocols. It's like two separate groups talking over each other." Rivera leaned closer. "Can you translate any of it?" "Not yet, but I'm working on it. Whatever's happening on their world, it's not simple. These patterns suggest internal conflict." Their conversation was interrupted by an announcement. "All senior officers report to the bridge for final briefing." On the bridge, Admiral Frank Delgado stood before star maps displaying the route to Zorathian space. As officers gathered, he began without preamble. "Our mission is clear. Rescue the diplomatic team and prevent this conflict from escalating. The President has authorized us to use force if necessary, but diplomacy remains our priority." Rivera studied the tactical displays showing Zorathian fleet positions. "Sir, their forces outnumber us 20-1. Even with the Defender's capabilities, we can't win a direct confrontation." "Which is why we won't seek one," Delgado replied. "We'll use the fold drive to appear at the edge of their system, attempt communication, and proceed based on their response." "And if they attack immediately?" Rivera asked. "Then we show them what Earth's best battleship can do," Delgado said grimly. "But let's hope it doesn't come to that." As the meeting concluded, the officers dispersed to their stations. The ship's massive engines began powering up, creating a low vibration throughout the vessel. Meanwhile, on the Zorathian homeworld, Commander Lissa Harrington and her team sat in a holding cell. The room was cold, with strange glowing walls that seemed to pulse with energy. Lissa paced while trying to make sense of their situation. "They think we attacked their colonies," she told her team. "But Earth has no ships in this sector besides our diplomatic vessel. Could someone else be attacking them?" "Pretending to be us," suggested Communications Officer Alan Peterson. Before Lisa could answer, the cell door slid open. A Zorathian guard entered, taller than the others they had seen. When the door closed, the guard looked around nervously, then spoke in a hushed voice. "Not all Zorathians agree with what is happening," the guard said in broken human language. "I am Krell. Many of us fear what our leaders do." Lisa stepped forward cautiously. "What exactly are your leaders doing, Krell?" "They lie about humans. They say you attack us, but it is not true." Krell's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Our world is divided. The ones who rule now, we call them dominators. They seized power recently." "And the others?" Lisa asked. "We are harmonizers. We wanted peace with humans." Krell glanced anxiously at the door. "I cannot stay. But know this, many Zorathians plead for help. We are prisoners in our own world." As Krell left, Lisa turned to her team, a new understanding dawning on her face. This wasn't just about rescuing the diplomatic mission anymore. Something much bigger was unfolding. A bright flash of light filled the bridge of the U.S. Defender as the full drive engaged. Officer stations shook and screens flickered. The stars outside the viewports stretched into lines and then disappeared completely. The ship entered folded space, traveling faster than any human vessel before it. Lieutenant John Rivera gripped his console as the vibrations subsided. "Full drive stable," he reported. "We're on course for the Zorathian system." Admiral Frank Delgado nodded. "Estimated arrival time." 3 days, sir," Rivera answered. "Chief Sanchez's drive is working better than expected." The journey through folded space was strange. Time seemed to flow differently, and the usual view of stars was replaced by a shifting curtain of colors. The crew worked in rotating shifts, preparing weapon systems and defensive measures while hoping they wouldn't need them. In the ship's mess hall, Rivera sat alone with a cup of coffee when Admiral Delgado joined him. "Something on your mind, Lieutenant?" the Admiral asked. Rivera hesitated, then spoke. "Sir, I've been studying the Zorathian communications that Specialist Martinez decoded. I think there's more to this situation than a simple act of aggression." "Explain," Delgado said, his expression serious. "The patterns suggest internal conflict. What if we're walking into a civil war? We could make things worse by showing up with guns blazing." Delgado frowned. "Our primary mission is to rescue our people. If that requires force, we use force." "But sir," Rivera pressed, "what if the diplomatic team isn't being held by the Zorathian government, but by a faction within it? We could end up fighting the wrong enemy." "You're suggesting we hold back our strength." Delgado's voice hardened. "The last time you chose caution over action, the mining colony on Ceres suffered." Rivera's face darkened at the mention of his past. 3 years ago, he had hesitated during a pirate attack, carefully analyzing the situation while citizens died. The guilt still haunted him. "I'm suggesting we understand the situation before we act," Rivera said quietly. Delgado stood up. "Your caution is noted, Lieutenant, but I won't risk Earth's safety on Maves. Be ready to engage when we arrive." Meanwhile, on the Zorathian homeworld, Lisa Harrington had begun secretly meeting with Krell. The Zorathian guard brought her to hidden chambers where she could speak with other harmonizers. "Our people lived peacefully for generations," an elderly Zorathian named Vren told her. "But the dominators believe strength comes from conquest, not cooperation." "Why did they want war with humans?" Lisa asked. Another harmonizer, a female named Shala, explained. "They fear you. Human individualism threatens their control. Our prophets foretold that contact with your kind would change Zorathian society forever. So they staged this conflict to prevent that change," Lisa realized. Krell nodded. "The attacks on our colonies were done by dominator ships disguised as human vessels. They needed an excuse for war." Lisa learned that many Zorathians were secretly hoping for outside help. The dominators had seized power only months before the scheduled diplomatic meeting with Earth. The timing was not coincidental. "We must find a way to contact your ship," Krell said. Many of our people pray for rescue. Back on the U.S. Defender, communications specialist Olivia Martinez made a breakthrough. She rushed to the bridge where Rivera was reviewing tactical scenarios. "Lieutenant, I've isolated something in the Zorathian transmissions," she said excitedly. "There are hidden messages embedded in their official communications. Listen." She played a filtered recording. Through the static came clear words in the Zorathian language, which their translation software converted. "Help us. The Dominators lie. We seek peace." Rivera immediately called Admiral Delgado to the bridge. As they listened to the message, Rivera felt vindicated, but also deeply concerned. "This changes everything," Delgado admitted. "We're not just rescuing our people, we're potentially taking sides in their internal conflict." "Sir," Rivera said firmly, "I believe we must find the harmonizers when we arrive. They could be our allies." Before Delgado could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Chief Engineer Maria Sanchez's voice came over the comm system. "Bridge, we have a problem with the fold drive. Space is becoming unstable around us." The ship lurched violently. Outside the viewports, the colorful curtain of folded space began to tear apart. "All hands, brace for emergency fold exit," Delgado commanded. With a tremendous flash of light and energy, the U.S. Defender was violently thrust back into normal space. As the crew recovered, Navigator Greg Powell looked at his instruments with shock. "Sir," he reported, "we're already in Zorathian space, but we're not at the system edge as planned. We're right in the middle of their defense perimeter." On the tactical display, dozens of Zorathian warships began moving toward their position. Red alert klaxons blared throughout the U.S. Defender. The bridge crew worked frantically at their stations as the tactical display showed Zorathian warships closing in from all directions. "Shields at maximum," Rivera called out. "Weapons systems online." Admiral Delgado stood calmly at the center of the bridge. "Open communications channel. All frequencies." Before they could broadcast, one of the sensor operators shouted, "Sir, small craft detected, being pursued by a Zorathian warship." The view screen showed a tiny vessel zigzagging desperately as energy blasts from a larger Zorathian ship narrowly missed it. "The small craft is sending a distress signal," Communications Specialist Martinez reported. It's in broken English." Rivera looked at Delgado. "Sir, that could be a harmonizer." Delgado hesitated only briefly. "Lieutenant, take a rescue team. Bring that pilot aboard." Rivera nodded and rushed from the bridge. Minutes later, he led a team of 6 in a small rescue shuttle. They launched from the Defender's bay and accelerated toward the fleeing craft. "Defender, this is Rescue 1, Rivera radioed. "We're approaching the target. Can you provide cover fire?" The massive Earth battleship responded immediately, firing precision blasts that forced the Zorathian warship to break off its pursuit. Rivera's shuttle came alongside the damaged alien vessel. "This is Lieutenant Rivera of Earth. We're here to help," he transmitted. The response came in halting English. Grateful, hurry." The rescue team attached docking clamps to the small craft and pulled it into their shuttle's cargo bay. Air pressure normalized, and Rivera approached the alien vessel with 2 security officers. The hatch opened slowly, and a Zorathian stumbled out. Unlike the tall, imposing figures they had seen in briefings, this alien looked thin and exhausted. Purple blood seeped from a wound on one arm. "I am Zev," the Zorathian said weakly. "Scientist, harmonizer." Rivera helped Zev to his seat as the shuttle pilot turned back toward the Defender. "We've got him, sir," returning to base. As they flew back, more Zorathian warships appeared. The Defender's shields flashed repeatedly as they absorbed enemy fire. "Your ship is powerful," Zev noted, watching through the viewport, "but not enough against so many." "What can you tell us about the situation?" Rivera asked urgently. Zev's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Dominators control military. They build super weapon in orbit of second moon. Planet killer. Earth is first target. Rivera's blood ran cold. A planet killer. Are you certain? I helped design it, Zev admitted shamefully. Before I learned true purpose. Now I bring plans, weakness information. The shuttle docked with the Defender as the battle intensified around them. Admiral Delgado met them in the medical bay where Dr. Wright was treating Zev's injuries. What have you learned? Delgado asked Rivera. Sir, this is worse than we thought. The Dominators have built a super weapon capable of destroying planets. They plan to test it on Earth. Delgado's face paled. Can we confirm this? Zev nodded weakly and handed over a small data crystal. Proof. And how to stop it. While the ship's computers analyzed the data, Zev explained more about Zorathian society. Harmonizers are majority. We seek peace, exploration. Dominators are a smaller group, but control military and government now. How did they take control? Delgado asked. Our people respect strength and tradition, Zev explained. Dominators used fear of outsiders to seize power. They say humans will destroy our way of life. On the bridge, Martinez had a breakthrough with the communications. Sir, I've established a secure channel with the surface. Someone named Krell is asking to speak with us. He says he has Commander Harrington with him. The view screen flickered, and Lissa Harrington's face appeared. She looked tired but determined. Admiral, thank goodness, she said. I've been working with the Harmonizer Resistance. They're preparing to rise up against the Dominators, but they need our help. Commander, we've learned about the superweapon, Delgado replied. Our priority must be to neutralize that threat. The Resistance can help, Lisa insisted. They have people positioned throughout the Zorathian defense network. With proper coordination, they can lower the shields protecting the weapon platform. Rivera studied the tactical display. Sir, if we can get to that platform while its shields are down. Delgado nodded grimly. We might have a chance. He turned back to the screen. Commander Harrington, tell your contacts we'll need those shields down in exactly 6 hours. We're going to hit that platform with everything we've got. Understood, Admiral, Lisa replied. But there's something else you should know. The Zorathians aren't pleading for mercy from us. They're pleading for rescue from their own oppressors. As the communication ended, Rivera watched the swarm of enemy ships surrounding them. The odds seemed impossible. Yet now they had allies on the inside, and a plan was forming. Prepare battle stations, Delgado ordered, and get our new Zorathian friend to engineering. We need to understand exactly how to destroy that superweapon. In the main conference room of the U.S. Defender, Admiral Delgado gathered his senior officers around a holographic display. The blue light illuminated their serious faces as Zev pointed to different sections of the superweapon schematic. Main power core here, the Zorathian scientist explained. Destroy this, weapon fails. But many defenses protect it. Chief Engineer Maria Sanchez studied the complex design. The energy output is massive. If it overloads, the explosion could take out more than just the weapon. How do we approach without being detected? Rivera asked, examining the defensive positions surrounding the platform. Zev's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. Zorathian ships have identification signal. Changes every 6 hours. I know current code. Communications specialist Martinez leaned forward eagerly. If we can transmit that code, we might fool their systems long enough to get close. And once we're close, Delgado asked. Rivera pointed to a small docking bay on the underside of the platform. A strike team enters here. We plant explosives on the core and get out before detonation. Delgado nodded slowly. It's risky, but it's our best option. Lieutenant Rivera, you'll lead the strike team. Meanwhile, on the Zorathian homeworld, Lisa Harrington and Krell moved carefully through underground tunnels beneath the capital city. The resistance network had grown, with harmonizers from all walks of life joining the cause. Our people at Central Command will lower the orbital defense shields at the agreed time, Krell assured her. But we must also disable the ground-based weapons. Lisa followed him into a large cavern where dozens of Zorathians worked at communication stations and prepared weapons. She had never imagined so many aliens would risk their lives to help humans. "How long have the Dominators been planning this?" she asked. An elderly Zorathian named Vren approached. "They feared human contact for generations. Our oldest prophecies speak of a species that would change us forever. When our scientists confirmed your existence 50 years ago, the Dominators began preparing. And they built the superweapon just for us." Lisa asked, horrified. "Yes," Krell answered grimly. "They believe destroying Earth will cement their power forever. The harmonizers who oppose them will lose hope." Lisa checked her stolen Zorathian communicator. "We have 4 hours until the Defender attacks the platform. We need to reach the Defense Control Center by then." As they prepared to leave, alarms suddenly blared throughout the underground base. Zorathians rushed to defensive positions as a voice announced, "Security forces approaching. We have been discovered." Back on the U.S. Defender, preparations for the strike mission continued. Rivera selected 5 crew members for his team, including a weapons specialist and an engineer. They studied the platform schematics and practiced breaching procedures in the ship's simulation room. In engineering, Maria Sanchez worked with Zev to modify their weapons. "Regular explosives won't penetrate the core shielding," she explained to Rivera. "We've had to adapt our torpedoes to match the resonant frequency of their defense systems." "Will it work?" Rivera asked. Zev looked uncertain. "Theory is sound. Never tested." Admiral Delgado entered engineering with a grave expression. "We've lost contact with Commander Harrington. The resistance base was attacked. We don't know if they can still lower the shields." Rivera's face hardened. "Then we proceed assuming no help from the ground." "Can we break through the shields on our own?" "We'd need to concentrate all our firepower on one spot," Delgado said. "It would leave us vulnerable to counterattack." "Sir," Rivera said firmly, "I recommend we proceed with the mission. Even without ground support, we have to try." Before Delgado could respond, Martinez's voice came over the comm system. "Bridge to Admiral Delgado. We're detecting a massive energy buildup at the superweapon platform. They may be preparing to fire." The officers rushed to the bridge. The main view screen showed the distant platform beginning to glow with ominous purple energy. "Time to weapons ready," Delgado demanded. "At current power increase." "Less than 3 hours," Martins replied. "That's sooner than we expected," Rivera said, his voice tense. "They must know we're planning something." Delgado made his decision. "We can't wait 6 hours. Launch the strike team immediately. Get as close as you can under stealth, then make your approach." As Rivera's team prepared to board their specially modified shuttle, a transmission broke through on the emergency channel. Lisa Harrington's voice came through, breathless and urgent. "Defender, this is Harrington. Resistance base compromised, but we're proceeding to secondary objective. Defense shields will drop in exactly 45 minutes. Be ready." Rivera smiled grimly as he checked his weapon. "Looks like we still have allies down there after all." The shuttle bay doors opened, revealing the stars and the distant glow of the superweapon. Rivera took a deep breath as his small craft launched into space, beginning the most dangerous mission of his life. Rivera's shuttle glided silently through space, its engines reduced to minimal power. Inside, the strike team checked their weapons and oxygen supplies. The superweapon platform grew larger in their viewports, its massive structure blotting out the stars behind it. 30 seconds until we're in range of their sensors," the pilot whispered, as if the Zorathians might hear them through the vacuum of space. Rivera nodded. "Prepare to transmit the identification code Zev provided." The tension in the small craft was thick as they approached the outer defense perimeter. If the code didn't work, they would be destroyed instantly. "Transmitting now," the pilot said. Long seconds passed. Then the pilot smiled. "They're accepting the code. We're being classified as a friendly supply ship." Rivera released the breath he had been holding. "Take us in slowly." No sudden movements. On the U.S. Defender, Admiral Delgado watched the small blip of the shuttle on his tactical display. Around him, the bridge crew worked in tense silence, monitoring the Zorathian ships that still surrounded them at a distance. 20 minutes until the shields are supposed to drop, Martins reported. And how long until the superweapon can fire? Delgado asked. Energy buildup suggests less than an hour, sir. Delgado turned to Zev, who stood nervously at the edge of the bridge. If we destroy the platform, what happens to the energy already built up? Release violent. Explosion very big, the Zorathian scientist explained. Strike team must get away quickly. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, Lisa Harrington and Krell led a small group of harmonizers through maintenance tunnels beneath the Zorathian Defense Center. They had barely escaped when Dominator forces raided their base. Now they were racing against time to reach the shield controls. 2 levels more, Krell whispered, pointing to a ladder. Then we find main control room. Lisa checked her stolen communicator. 15 minutes left. We need to hurry. As they climbed higher, they heard boots stomping overhead. Dominator guards were everywhere, alerted to the resistance movement. One harmonizer scout moved ahead to check the path. Suddenly, a door slid open above them. The scout froze as a guard looked directly at him. For a moment, no one moved. Then the guard reached for his weapon. Lisa acted without thinking. She lunged forward, tackling the guard. They struggled briefly before Krell helped subdue him. More will come soon, Krell warned. They check in regularly. Then we need to move now, Lisa insisted. No more stealth. We run for the control room. Rivera's shuttle approached the massive docking bay on the underside of the platform. Their false identification had gotten them this far, but now came the difficult part. Request emergency docking. The pilot transmitted. Minor coolant leak. Need immediate assistance. The response came quickly. Identified supply vessel. Proceed to emergency dock 3. As they neared the entrance, Rivera saw Zorathian workers in pressure suits moving about. None seemed suspicious of the approaching Earth shuttle, its markings covered with Zorathian symbols. Remember, Rivera told his team, once we're inside, we have 15 minutes to reach the core, plant the charges, and get out before the resistance lowers the shields and the defender attacks. The shuttle touched down gently in the pressurized bay. Rivera checked his weapon one last time. Go. The team burst from the shuttle, firing stun weapons at the surprised Zorathian workers. They moved quickly toward the inner door that would lead them deeper into the platform. On the bridge of the U.S. Defender, alarms suddenly blared. Sir, Martinez called out, we're detecting energy spikes from the Zorathian fleet. They're moving into attack positions. Admiral Delgado leaned forward. They've discovered our shuttle. All hands to battle stations. The massive Earth battleship powered up its weapons systems as the Zorathian warships closed in. Outnumbered 20-1, the Defender would have to fight the battle of its life. 5 minutes until the shields should drop, Martins reported. Open a channel to all Zorathian vessels, Delgado ordered. As the channel opened, he spoke clearly. Zorathian ships, this is Admiral Delgado of Earth. We know about your internal conflict. We come not as conquerors, but as allies against tyranny. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Martinez looked up in surprise. Sir, 3 Zorathian ships have stopped advancing. I think some of them might be crewed by harmonizers. On the superweapon platform, Rivera's team fought their way through narrow corridors. Zorathian security forces had been alerted, and energy blasts flew past them as they pushed toward the core. 2 minutes to target, Rivera shouted over the weapons fire. Keep moving. Space lit up with brilliant flashes as the U.S. Defender exchanged fire with the Zorathian warships. The Earth battleship's advanced shields flickered under the assault, but held firm. Its return fire was precise, disabling enemy weapons systems without destroying the vessels. 3 Zorathian ships now showing signs of mutiny Martins reported from her station. They're attacking other Zorathian vessels. Admiral Delgado nodded grimly. The harmonizers are fighting back. Target only ships that fire on us first. A massive blast rocked the Defender, throwing crew members to the floor. Damage reports flooded in from across the ship. Main weapons array damage, an officer called out. Operating at 60% capacity. Delgado helped a fallen crew member up. Reroute emergency power. Keep those weapons online. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Maria Sanchez worked frantically to keep systems functioning. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits as she directed her team. The main power coupling is failing, she shouted over the noise. We need to bypass it, or we lose weapons completely. Inside the superweapon platform, Rivera and his team finally reached the massive chamber housing the power core. The room thrummed with energy, and the air itself seemed to vibrate around them. 2 of his team members had been injured in the firefight, but they pushed forward. Set charges here, and here, Rivera directed, pointing to key junction points Zeb had identified. We need to overload the containment field and trigger a chain reaction. His weapons specialists worked quickly, placing the specially modified explosives, while Rivera and the others defended against Zorathian security forces trying to break through the sealed door. On the Zorathian homeworld, Lisa Harrington and Krell finally reached the Defense Control Center. Bodies of both Dominator and Harmonizer Zorathians lay around them, evidence of the fierce fighting. Lisa's arm was bleeding from an energy weapon graze, but she ignored the pain. There, Krell pointed to the main console. Shield controls. Lisa hurried to the station. How much time? Less than 1 minute, Krell replied, watching the door nervously. The control system was in Zorathian, but Krell quickly guided her through the sequence. As Lisa entered the final command, alarms blared throughout the facility. Shield deactivation beginning, an automated voice announced in the Zorathian language. Suddenly, the door to the control room burst open. A tall, imposing Zorathian in ornate armor strode in, followed by heavily armed guards. Supreme Commander Vox, Krell whispered, fear evident in his voice. Vox looked at Lisa with hatred in all 4 of his eyes. So this is how our civilization ends, betrayed by our own, helping humans. Lisa stood her ground. Your people didn't want this war. You forced it on them. I protected them. Vox roared. The prophecies were clear. Contact with humanity would destroy our way of life. Your way of life, Lisa corrected, not theirs. Back on the superweapon platform, Rivera received the message they'd been waiting for. Defender to strike team. Shields are down. Repeat, shields are down. Charges set. His weapons specialist confirmed. 10-minute timer active. Rivera nodded. Fall back to the shuttle. Move. As they turned to leave, the core room door suddenly opened. Dozens of Zorathian security forces poured in, cutting off their escape route. The team took cover behind equipment, returning fire as best they could. We're pinned down, Rivera shouted into his communicator. Can't reach the shuttle. On the Defender's bridge, Admiral Delgado received the message with growing concern. The ship rocked again as another blast hit their shields. Main weapons at 40%, an officer reported. Shields failing. Delgado turned to Zev. If Rivera can't escape, how long before the charges detonate? 10 minutes, the Zorathian scientist replied. Not enough time for rescue. Maria Sanchez's voice came over the comm system. Admiral, I've been monitoring the situation. We can't reach Lieutenant Rivera with another shuttle in time. What options do we have? Delgado demanded. Maria hesitated, then continued. Sir, there is one way to destroy the platform and still save our people. But it requires a direct hit from our main cannon at the exact moment the charges detonate. The combined explosion would create a wavefront we could ride out. And if we miss the timing? Delgado asked. Then we're all dead, Maria answered simply. Back in the core room, Rivera looked at his surrounded team. The charges were counting down, and their ammunition was running low. He made a difficult decision. Defender, this is Rivera. We're not going to make it out. Continue with the mission. Destroy this weapon at all costs. In the silence that followed, Rivera thought about the mining colony disaster years ago, how his hesitation had cost lives. This time, there would be no hesitation. Sir, Rivera continued, his voice firm despite the chaos around him. It's been an honor. Admiral Delgado stood silently on the bridge of the U.S. Defender, Rivera's words hanging in the air. The crew looked to him, waiting for his order. Sir, Martinez said softly, 7 minutes until detonation. Delgado's face hardened with resolve. Plot firing solution for maximum effect on the platform's core. Time it with the internal charges. And Lieutenant Rivera's team? Someone asked. We're not leaving them, Delgado replied firmly. Chief Sanchez, can you get a transporter lock on our people inside that platform? In engineering, Maria's eyes widened. Transporters at this distance, with all the interference from the core, it's never been done. Can you do it? Delgado pressed. Maria took a deep breath. I'll need to modify the transport buffers and boost them with power from the fold drive. It might work, but it would leave us without enough power to escape the explosion. Find a way, Delgado ordered. We're not sacrificing our people. Inside the superweapon platform, Rivera and his team fought desperately. They had retreated to a small equipment alcove, but were running out of ammunition and options. 3 minutes to detonation. The weapons specialist reported grimly. Rivera's communicator suddenly crackled to life. Rivera, this is Sanchez. We're going to try something crazy. Get your team together in a tight group. We're going to attempt an emergency transport. Hope flickered in Rivera's eyes. Copy that. Everyone, huddle up. On the Zorathian homeworld, the standoff in the control room continued. Supreme Commander Vox kept his weapon trained on Lisa and Krell. You think you've won? Vox sneered. Even if you destroy this weapon, we will build another. The Dominators will never accept defeat. Suddenly, the doors behind him burst open. Dozens of harmonizers rushed in, led by Medical Officer Daniel Wright from the Defender. During the chaos, he had managed to join the ground forces. The people have spoken, Wright announced. Most of your military has surrendered or joined the harmonizers. Vox looked around in shock as his guards lowered their weapons, unwilling to fire on their own kind. The harmonizers moved forward, surrounding the Supreme Commander. This is not possible, Vox whispered. Krell stepped forward. Our prophecies never said contact with humans would destroy our civilization. They said it would transform it. We are ready for that transformation. Back on the platform, Rivera's team huddled together as Zorathian forces closed in. 1 minute to detonation. The weapons specialist whispered. Defender, now would be a good time, Rivera said into his communicator. On the battleship, Maria worked frantically at her console, locking on to their signals. The interference is massive. Got them. Initiating transport now. Light particles swirled around Rivera and his team, their bodies beginning to dissolve just as Zorathian security forces broke through their final defenses. Transport in progress, Maria called out. 30 seconds to detonation. Admiral Delgado gripped his chair. Fire main cannon. The U.S. Defender's massive weapon fired, sending an intense beam of energy directly into the platform's core. At the same time, the transport completed, depositing Rivera's team on the transporter pad. We're clear, Maria shouted. All power to shields. Delgado ordered. Brace for impact. The combined force of the internal charges and the Defender's main cannon created a cataclysmic explosion. The superweapon platform erupted in a blinding flash, sending out a shockwave that engulfed everything nearby. The U.S. Defender shuddered violently as the wave hit. Lights flickered, systems failed, and for one terrible moment, it seemed the ship might break apart. Then, gradually, the shaking subsided. Damage report, Delgado called out. Shields at 5%. Multiple hull breaches, but containment holding. Weapons offline. Fold drive offline. And the Zorathian fleet. Martinez checked her readings. Most Dominator ships were caught in the blast. The Harmonizer vessels are standing down. In the transporter room, Rivera helped his injured team members to their feet. Despite their wounds, they were alive. 3 days later, the U.S. Defender orbited peacefully above the Zorathian homeworld. On the planet's surface, Lisa Harrington stood beside Krell in the grand meeting hall where the crisis had begun. This time, the hall was filled with both humans and Zorathians. Admiral Delgado and Lieutenant Rivera represented Earth as Krell, now leading the new Harmonizer government, signed the first peace treaty between their worlds. Today marks not an ending, but a beginning, Krell announced. The Zorathians pleaded for mercy, and Earth's battleship came to our rescue. Not as conquerors, but as friends. Rivera looked at Admiral Delgado, who nodded with approval. The lieutenant's past guilt over hesitation had been washed away by his actions. He had learned when to fight and when to trust. As human and Zorathian representatives shook hands, a new chapter in galactic history began. The prophecy had indeed come true. Contact with humanity had transformed Zorathian society, but rather than destroying it, the change had set them free.